What's up guys, welcome to another exciting tip on Dynamics 365 with the D365 blogger. So let's look at the solution we're going to look into today. So today's solution is around using PowerApps with Dynamics 365 custom engagement to build a customer 360-degree view. First of all, let's look at the business scenario. So we often talk about the customer 360. The idea here is when we go into a customer record in Dynamics 365 custom engagement, we should be able to see a 360-degree view of the customer. So this includes all the activities that are associated with the customer, all the opportunities, the codes, the orders, invoices. The business user should be able to view all the data that is associated with the customer in a single screen. So when we look at customers, we do have all the sales, marketing, and service related details that is associated with the customer. So when it comes to customers, there can also be scenarios where we need to save some information about the customer that can provide an alert to the business user. For example, it might be a customer who has missed to pay an invoice last month, or a customer who has missed a payment for a few months and has gone into debt recovery. In these scenarios, an alert needs to be prompted quite prominently to the business user to notify them about these important information about the customer. Like I said, today's solution is around customer alerts. So if you look at the first requirement, we need to have a prominent display of the related customer alerts on the contact screen. Second, we should be able to color code the alerts based on the alert's severity. So an alert can be of high importance, medium importance, or low importance. Based on that, we should be able to color code. So third requirement is around the ability to view and manage the customer alerts easily. So from a UI perspective, I have this mockup screen, which basically shows the contact screen. In here, I need to have a separate panel that will show all the customer alerts that are associated with this particular customer, and they need to be color coded based on the severity. Back in the day, we were able to build solutions for requirements like this using HTML and CSS. But what we are going to look at today is how we can cook this solution using Dynamics 365 and PowerApps. So today's solution is what I call a low-code solution. So there's a little bit of JavaScript involved in developing this solution, but I will walk you through the JavaScript code and how it works. There are lots of articles around how we can embed PowerApps into Dynamics 365 custom engagement forms. This is one way of doing it, but there are also multiple other ways. What I have done is I have listed some of the blog articles that I came across when I was building this solution. So those blog articles can be found below the video under the description area, and also in my blog post as well. So first of all, let's go to CRM and see how things are built over there. So here I am in my CRM solution. I have a new entity that I have created, which is called alerts. So this is a activity type entity. So what I'm going to do is, against every contact, I have the ability to create an alert record as an activity. And then I have the contact entity, and I've got two web resources in here. One web resource is a JavaScript, and the other one is a HTML web resource. So if I go into my new entity, which is the alert activities, I have the subject, I have the severity, which basically says whether this is a alert of high importance, medium importance, or low importance. Then I have a description of the alert. What I have done in my contact screen is I have added a new web resource, and in that web resource I have referenced one of the HTML web resources I had in my solution. So next, if I go into PowerApps, I can see the app that I have created. So in my PowerApp, I have three screens, the browse screen, detail screen, and the edit screen. In the browse screen, I have a gallery control, which I'm gonna load and display all the alerts. So under my data sources, I can see I have created a connection to the alerts entity in Dynamics 365, and in the gallery body, I am going to show the subject of the alert, the created on date of the alert, and the priority code of the alert as well. So what is important in the browse gallery is that I have used this formula to load the items of the gallery. what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter the alerts, which is my data source, based on the regarding object ID value, which is the value that is returned from the regarding field on the alerts entity, and the value is passed through a parameter called contact ID. So what I'm going to do in CRM is when the contact record loads through JavaScript, I'm going to pass the contact ID to PowerApps, and PowerApps is going to interpret the contact ID and display the alerts that are associated with that contact ID. Next, what I have done in the browse gallery is I have created a new label, and in that label I have put a formula on the fill event, which basically looks at the priority code. If the priority code is high, it will set the color to red using these RGBA values, and if it is on normal, it will set to a amber color, and if it is low, it will set to a different color. So setting of the color is done using this formula here. So next I have the detail screen. So once the alerts are loaded, if I want to see further details of the alert, I can go to the detail screen, and if I want to edit any of the alerts, then I can go to the edit screen. So now let's go back and have a look at the JavaScript that I built. So it's a simple 2-line JavaScript that I have built, and I've called it my function. Before I explain this, I am not a developer by profession. This is something I've put together based on the research I've done. So there will be many other ways on how to build the same JavaScript in different ways. My purpose here is to show the capability on what we can do using PowerApps and Dynamics 365. So back to the topic. So it's a 2-line JavaScript that I have. I have a variable that is called URL. What the URL is going to have is this link. So here what I have is https web.powerapps.com/AllttA. Now this is the ID of the PowerApp. You can get the ID of the PowerApp by going into the information screen, and the app ID is located under the app ID section. And next what I have is the contact ID, which is the parameter I will be passing, which is going to get interpreted by PowerApps. What I'm also doing here is I'm concatenating this web URL with the contact ID from CRM. So I'm using the getID function to get the ID of the contact record, and once I get the contact ID, what I'm doing is I need to remove the curly brackets. So I'm using the replace function to remove the curly brackets in the ID that is returned, and because the ID is also returned in caps, what I need to do is I need to convert the ID into lowercase before I pass it to PowerApps. And in the next line, I'm passing the URL that I retrieved in the first step as the source of my web resource. So now let's go into CRM and have a look at how things work after putting everything together. So here I am in my contacts entity, and I'm going to open the contact called Jim, and once I load it, I can see I have a web resource where I'm loading the PowerApp, and I can see it's loading all the alerts that are associated with this particular contact. So if I go into my activities, I can see all the alerts that I have created here. And in my PowerApp, if I want to see further details, so I have a series of low and normal and high priority alerts. So if I want to see any details of any of these alerts, I can click on this button, and that'll show me all the details of this particular alert. And if I want to edit any of these alerts, I can do that right within the PowerApp itself. So I can do the edit and hit save. And if I want to create any new alerts, I can do that in the PowerApp itself. Rather than going into activities and creating it, I can create the alert right within the PowerApp itself. So this is a really interesting way of enhancing the Dynamics 365 user interface. I strongly believe this is just the beginning. There are lots of possibilities using PowerApps. I hope this solution will become handy to you. I hope to come back to you with more solutions like this using PowerApps and Dynamics 365. So until the next time, thank you.